My name is Marc Lueck. I am the chairman of Club CISO, and in my day job, I'm the CISO for Company 85. Today I have with me Dr. Jess Barker. Would you like to... doctor again. Jess,
Feel free to call me doctor.
Well, maybe later. But would you like to describe what you do in the industry?
Sure. So I'm on the advisory board of Club CISO, which I really enjoy. For my day job, I'm the co-founder and co-CEO of Sygenta, UK-based cybersecurity company, and I focus on the human side of cybersecurity. So awareness, behaviour, culture, that's what really interests me. And
that's a fascinating part of our industry as well. So it's been an action-packed year this year. I mean, we had a lot of events, we've had a lot of progress, I think. The live survey that we had showed quite a few interesting trends throughout the year.
Yeah.
One of the things I noticed early on in the live survey results was that almost 3/4 of all the respondents said that security awareness was still one of the hot topics. We've had more services, more products, a lot more interest in this space.
Yeah.
But could it be said that we've really reached a plateau or a saturation point where we're not going to get any better at security awareness, or our people aren't going to get any better?
It's a really interesting question. I think cybersecurity awareness, as you say, there's been such an increase in interest in it. There's been so much more attention placed on it, which I think is the right thing, over the last couple of years, as I would. Not that I'm biased. But from my point of view, I mean, awareness has never been higher about cybersecurity than it is now. And that's a great thing, but at the same time, what we haven't necessarily seen is a change in behaviours or much progress in terms of culture. So I think we need to think about the kind of awareness raising that we're doing. We need to think about the behaviours that we want to see and change, what culture we want to try and create in organisations when it comes to cybersecurity, and really consider that in the awareness raising that we're doing. But I feel like we're at a great place, and having such an increase in awareness and such attention placed on the human side is fantastic.
Well, that's a really interesting point you're making about the attention and being in a good place. I recently set up a security awareness campaign and capability within a client of mine. And one of the interesting challenges at the beginning, like most people do, we took the temperature of the organization and we did some phishing testing across the organization, and the results were tragic. No surprise there. And there was this temptation to go and run another set of tests after we run the campaign and done some awareness and say, well, this is real improvement.
Sure.
Is that a real thing?
I think you need to think about the metrics that you're looking at, and you need to think before you put a awareness program in place of what behaviours you want to drive. And so really it's that thing of like starting with why. Why are you doing it, and what do you want to influence? For a lot of organisations, phishing is a problem. So doing a phishing simulation as part of other activities is perfectly valid. But at the same time, I think awareness raising will look at all sorts of different topics. If you really want to see an improvement in anti-phishing, then make sure your awareness raising is targeted at that. But don't expect that you can just run out of the box training program and you're going to magically see a drop in clicking on phishing links. You need to be targeting your awareness raising. It's not just a human issue. So often I hear people saying, oh, it just takes a user to click a link to ruin my whole organization. And really, I find that very sweeping, and it's looking at only one part of the problem when it comes to phishing. If you're thinking of phishing as purely a human issue, an end user issue, then you're missing a big part of the problem. You're not thinking about segregation in the way you should be. You haven't got DMARC set up as you should. And so we need to remember that humans sometimes get the blame for stuff, which actually is a more complicated problem.
Almost all of our respondents had some level of material breach in there. But of course, security awareness is really only one element of the parts that the human has in that chain. Sure. There are other elements as well. People are making decisions when breaches occur. People are making decisions all the time.
Yeah.
Could you describe other ways, because phishing is a very narrow subject, other ways where you can increase and maybe improve the security culture in your organization?
Yeah, absolutely. I think one of the key things is how you think about empowering people with
Mm-hmm.
security, because so often there's been a history of security being the department of no, and the department that tells people what not to do, and that only steps in to tell people off or when there's been a problem. And so one thing is thinking about what kind of culture do you have that encourages people to come and ask questions, that encourages people to put their hands up when they think there's been an incident. Are people feeling empowered with security? Are they feeling that actually they're able to engage in positive behaviours, or do they feel that actually it's too difficult and it gets in the way of their job? And so you have to think about how technology is structured in your organisation to enable people to do their job in the most secure way.
So Tom, do we have any questions from our listeners, auto watchers, or?
There is a question. The big one, I suppose, is that the CISO, as a function, as a job function, is arguably the chief of the small C. Right? They don't necessarily sit on the board. They don't
I wouldn't tell them all that's their face.
Do you think this is the year of the CISO where they sort of become what they should be, or do you think it's the beginning of the end for the CISO and they'll eventually become redundant?
Well, it's a really interesting question, and I think there's going to be a bit of both. I have heard models where the CISO's role is going to be less IT focused, and therefore what we considered a CISO from the past may no longer be what we consider a CISO. But I've also seen a kind of an entrenchment on these positions becoming more powerful and therefore becoming more capital C CISOs. Mm-hmm. But I do think the broad middle, I think the broad middle are still going to be laboring under this small C CISO for quite some time.
Yeah, I think it will evolve, obviously, and I think there is a lot of discussion of, who does the CISO report to, and what kind of a function is it, business, IT. I think it will become more business facing, as it has done over the last couple of years. But I think you're right. I think things move pretty slowly, so we're going to see a slow evolution. I don't think this year we're going to see a big sea change in the role either way.
Well, that was a purposeful
Sea
pun.
change.
Yeah, I like that. You could put that on some
smart.
stickers too. So thank you, Jess, for a really good conversation with me today. Thank you everyone else for helping set it up. I want to remind everybody to, if you are not already a member of Club CISO, please join. The link behind me. And we have our live vote coming up on the 20th of March this year, and it is already pretty well subscribed, but there are places available. We'd love to see you there. So for me, Marc, Lueck, and Jess,
Yeah,
thank you very much for
Thanks,
watching.
Marc.